I'm your host, Sam, and today's guest is somebody who embodies resilience, adaptability, and freedom. Erhan has been living on the road for 7 years. Get ready to hear how he's turned challenges into opportunities, built inner strength, and found beauty in this simple life. How this life transition began.
I got a job interview in Phuket, and then I sold everything in my home.
What drew you to this opportunity?
I had always a dream like to travel different parts around the world.
Can you imagine ever going back into an office?
Of course, my first choice is hell no, I wouldn't do this.
Do you think this lifestyle is for everybody?
You know, there is an ancient temple in Greece, and in the entrance says know and know yourself.
What have you learned about yourself?
Choose your destinations wisely.
You highlighted minimalism has been a big part of your journey. How has living this way shaped your perspective on just life and happiness and the things that you need?
Like if you are thirsty, even if you drink water from a river or from a tap, your thirst will be gone. So that means you don't need fancy glasses or thermoses. Like wherever the water is available, you can just drink it, and that is the essence of minimalism.
Welcome back to Nomad Chats, where we dive deep into the raw, the unfiltered journeys of digital nomads and global adventurers. I'm your host, Sam, and today's guest is somebody who embodies resilience, adaptability, and freedom. Erhan has been living on the road for 7 years, starting with a bold decision to move to Phuket for work. Since then, he's served in Sri Lanka, hiked in Nepal, and embraced the less is more philosophy that defines his nomadic journey. Get ready to hear how he's turned challenges into opportunities, built inner strength, and found beauty in this simple life. Welcome to Nomad Chats. Erhan, where in the world are you joining us from today?
Hi Sam, thank you very much for hosting me in this Nomad Chat. At the moment, I am in Antalya, Turkey, a small Mediterranean town called Kash.
Mm.
This is my kind of resting point before starting exploring Africa. So I thought it will be nice to see a bit of Mediterranean vibes, good foods, and nice weather before going to a wild journey. Maybe it will be 1 or 1.5 year exploring almost entire Africa.
Wow, what an adventure. Okay, I'm so glad we started with that. Had you been to Turkey or this region before? Is it kind of returning home type energy, or are you exploring somewhere new even before this?
Actually, this place, Kash, this like very calm and quiet place, especially here in the winter season, which makes it perfect place after returning such an adventure, like from I don't know adventurous places like Nepal or Sri Lanka. Like after
Hmm.
getting tired every day for like going for hiking, seeing like majestic mountains, this place is more like okay, I'm gonna take a rest.
Okay, it's the calm before the storm and a year in Africa. That's incredible. Where are you going to start?
Uh, Morocco will be the first destination as I have been there
North to south.
before, maybe like 4 years or something. And then I would like to explore that again in the different terms. And then plan is like going to Mauritania to get the iron train across Sahara. Maybe you heard, or like it's actually quite famous adventure. And apart
Hmm.
from that, I will visit Senegal maybe for a short time and then go back South Africa and Tanzania, Kenya, Ivory Coast, Madagascar, Cape Verde, and pretty much all the little countries I can jump around. Like I forgot, I always keep forgetting the countries' names. It's very weird. Where I can see silverback gorillas, actually,
Okay,
the
yeah.
Viringua National Park, where you can see the last of them, and I will be super happy to see them.
Amazing. Yeah, that's going to be fabulous. I've done a safari in Kenya, and I know right before this call, you were telling me how there's the street cats everywhere in Turkey that you're loving. Well, there you're going to see the big cats. So I will be following along your journeys, and I'm sure everyone who's listening now will be curious and following along too. So let's start at the beginning because you're 7 years in, you're somebody who is now about to spend a year traveling around Africa. Let's start with how this life transition began. It said it started with a job in Phuket, right?
Yes. Yeah, actually, that was the first action point. Like, I got a job interview in Phuket maybe like I was searching for a job abroad, maybe 2 or 2.5 years, like where the job matched my criteria, like I can sustain my life. And after, it was very crazy. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I went to the final interview, and I was thinking, okay, maybe they're gonna give me a month's trial in the another branch. And then they told me, we got a ticket for you for Saturday afternoon. I was like,
Wow.
I have 3 days. What I'm gonna do now? Like, and then I sold everything in my home, like all the secondhand stuff and everything, and I get maybe like 15 kilo luggage. And with that luggage, I went to Phuket, which is like super different destination from where I was born. And I was like, this is really nice because like after the work, you jump on your motorbike, you are in like very pristine, clear beach where you are alone with the coconut trees only, and sometimes you hear monkeys. And after that, job actually was not something that I was hoping, or like not was like in my dream. So after a couple of months, I quit this job, and during this time, I met different people in Phuket, and actually two of them were inspired me because they were also living like how I live now without having a home base from one country to another, and that sparked uh, a dream with me, like I can do this. And
Yeah.
then from this time, I had one option after I left my job in Phuket, like whether I'm gonna go back or go brave. I said like I'm not going to go back. I did not come all the way around just to go back after a couple of months. So I stay a bit, get some challenges like finding a good accommodation, which my budget was like super limited. And I was thinking like what I'm gonna do now. I should have some skills and to start this life. And then after a couple of months, I got a remote job, and then I got another one. I got another one. So here we are.
Amazing. So it sounds like you weren't really even considering the nomadic life or even really aware that this was an option for you when you said yes to this first adventure in Phuket. What drew you to this opportunity? Was it just being able to live somewhere international and experience a new culture?
Actually, I was raised in a very cosmopolitan place in Istanbul, like center. And since from my teenager ages, I guess, if it's correct. I had always a dream like to travel different parts around the world, like one day surfing in the Caribbean, second day like jumping into Amazon River, and another day like hiking in Nepal in the like highest mountain. But I didn't know how it can be possible. Like it was only like a dream, and then it was always there. Still, it was dream, but more than dream, it became a goal. And then after it became a goal, it said, okay, like step by step, you go one country, you go another. Like, what is your next dream? What would you like to do next? And then it became more and more my normal.
Hmm. Can you imagine ever going back into an office, or have you ever had more of a traditional 9 to 5 office where you commuted in and you dressed up for work and you had that experience? How long ago has that
I
been?
mean, that is like, as I wouldn't know when I get the first adventure in Phuket, I wouldn't know my life will be like this, and I wouldn't know what will be coming in the future and what kind of possibilities are waiting. So it is like very difficult to answer. But of course, my first choice is hell no, I wouldn't do this.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. So it sounds like you kind of always knew that you didn't want to be someone who had a home base. You always were attracted to adventure and travel and having all of these more of experiences over things. Does it sound like that's been who you were even as a child?
Yes, that's pretty accurate explanation.
Hmm.
Yes.
And how has
So
that changed since you've been on the road?
I mean, I was not aware some kind of challenges I will be facing on the road, because you are not just leaving your home and your belongings, you are also leaving your life behind, like your friends, your relationship with them, your parents. For example, I haven't seen my family in the first time for 5 years. Um, but they still knew that I was somewhere in safe and everything was okay. Apart from that, uh, the freedom of the travel also relies on the luggage allowance when you are flying around. So I was always like, like when you go for shopping, okay, how can I utilize this? I don't know, this sweater in the more occasions rather than just being a sweater. So if I have a jacket on it and I can go for like cold places, and if I have the sweater, I can use it in a couple of different countries where the temperature change, and this gives also the sense of minimalism because because you cannot travel with the 50 kilo luggage. It will be like very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. You highlighted minimalism has been a big part of your journey. How has living this way shaped your perspective on just life and happiness and the things that you need?
How can I answer to that like without going into to elaborate? Like how can I say? Like if you are thirsty, even if you drink water from a river or from a tap, your thirst will be gone. And so that means you don't need fancy glasses or thermoses. Like wherever the water is available, you can just drink it, and that is the essence of minimalism. So that means I was more chasing adventures that I will feel like, wow, I have done this and I have seen this, rather than, oh, I have this or I have that. For example, I'm using same phone maybe for 5 years, but I'm happy with it. I don't need. But in the 5 years, how many different like lifetime memories I had? That is kind of minimalism in the consumering stuff that you have, like your belongings, basically.
Mhm. Mhm. And you've been able to do that in a way that feels natural. Like I know you mentioned the luggage and realizing you can't carry all this stuff around, but I know for me, right now I'm on a 3-month living in a van journey in New Zealand, and it's kind of this push and pull where sometimes I wish I had more things because it's so frustrating when you don't have something you want. And then other times I'm like, oh, I wish I had less items with me because it's so much to be carrying and lugging around. How are you finding that balance, especially as you prepare for a year in Africa?
Yeah, actually, when you are living in like short rental accommodations, like they have most of the things covered, like the kitchen equipments or like the washing machine for laundries or like essential equipments that you might need, and that actually covers the essentials. Like if you are traveling by choice, like that this is done by choice, so you choose to live without these luxuries in your life. And then in a moment I realized, oh, it feels much better because these belongings require maintenance, which is like driving me away from what I'm going to do. Like if I have a house, for example, like somewhere home base, every time when I feel I don't know, tired or exhausting traveling, I will go back to that place and I will settle maybe like for 6 months, 7 months, like until I feel ready to travel again. But when you are in your home base where you feel safe, when you feel like this is your roots, you might never go back. And I don't want this, because I don't want to have this option in my life where I feel like there is a place where I can always go back, whereas in my life where I can go is the next destination.
Hmm. Absolutely. I want to ask you about something that you put in your bio regarding some of the tough challenges that you've had to overcome while nomading. One of them says that you navigated a near fatal accident.
Yes.
Can you share with us what
Ye-
happened for those who don't know the
yes,
story?
it happened in the end of 2019 in Thailand. I was on the way to beach, and like I'm not a crazy driver. Like I was putting my helmet, following the rules, and the red light was off, and I just moved the motorbike. And after 2 days, I opened my eyes in the hospital because there was a, how can you say that, a, another pickup driver who was in a hurry, and he actually hit five more motorbikes, including mine, I
Oh
guess.
my goodness.
And then I have a metal plate on my collarbone and some. ribs were broken and my knee still hurts. I don't like it because it's like when I go to hike or when I do some like challenging activities, the physically challenging ones, I feel like why did I not wait like a couple of more seconds? So that's being said, and I stayed almost 3 months with the like how can I say the hanger,
A
and I
sling.
went to yeah, and I went to hospital in every day after for physiotherapy. But I'm very lucky I'm still alive and I can do a lot of things.
Yeah, wow. And it sounds like you don't remember what happened. Like you closed your eyes, went to press a button, and you woke up 2 days later. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's correct. I searched about it before, like why it was like this. To not to get trauma, the brain deletes the last memory. Normally you
Mm,
remember, but it's like of how can I say? It's like a self-defense mechanism that is not in my control. I just remember the moment where I pushed the throttle, and then the rest was blue. They were like insert coin.
wow. That's so interesting. I didn't know that our brains did that to protect us from those moments. It makes sense. That must have really, I guess, tested you while being on the road. In those moments, did you kind of question your decision to be so far from home and be putting yourself in these situations where things like this can go wrong and you don't have the comforts of home? Or, yeah, like talk a little bit about the mental journey following that accident.
Actually, there are like what can I say? As it was my choice to be there to go to that beach, and I am the one who will face the consequences. But after this, I took some precautions. For example, when I was in Kathmandu, which is like super crazy traffic, first thing I have done, like in the first morning, okay, I'm gonna make an insurance.
Okay, you got insurance right away when you get to
Yes.
a new destination. Nice plug.
And then like they meant like it didn't stop me, and I was happy that it was not a big damage, although still like I could have been somewhere else at the moment, but now we are doing this interview. It's super nice. I will say it did not stop me. The the lesson I learned from that, I can survive from this. Like for example, I did not have any how can I say, long lasting traumas. I still ride motorbike when it's needed, which I have done in Nepal. It was like super adventurous. But on the other hand, I wouldn't wish such things to be happening in the world anymore. Like people should wait in the red lights. That's the
People should
lesson.
wait in the red light. That's the lesson. Okay, be a little bit more careful. Do you have any other examples of experiences that happened on the road that really tested your resilience and required you to kind of dig deep in order to overcome them?
I think in the first couple of years, like in the first 2 years, when you are not familiar with this life, always had doubts from yourself, like how can I do this, like how long I can do this, because uh, it might sound like an adventure that might finish any day, and you might have the ticket to go back your home, as you mentioned, I go back to your life, like dress up for the office work or wherever you are working. That was a bit of challenging time because I did not want to do that. It was really nice, especially I realized like after many years come back to Istanbul, and I was like, wow, how did you live in that place so long? So to overcome that challenges, I needed to learn some professional skills to sustain this life and some communication skills. Like I was always nice to other people, and I became extra nice because you don't know, sometimes even a simple smile can lead you at different places, where in my story I have many friends from all around the world. Even we don't see each other for years, but we know when we met, we will be like last time we met was, I don't know, a couple of days ago, something like this. But apart from that, I really have some friends. They are really like my family now. Like in every couple of days, we are just texting each other, "Hey, how are you? How are you doing? When the next time we're gonna meet or something like this?" This is like super nice.
Yeah.
Which the loneliness is a big thing when you are traveling alone, but when you know that there are some people. Actually, one of them from Canada just texted me now, And yeah,
Nice.
and to
Amazing.
have this kind of friendships are really incredible, which you might not have in the normal life. That sounds like super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. You've experienced so much in 7 years, and it sounds like skills. You've mentioned a few times that you've had to gain new skills, both professionally in order to sustain this life. But what do you think about personal skills? Like you've mentioned being a little bit friendlier to people because you never know where that can go. Have there been other skills or habits that have been really valuable for you to lean into in this nomad journey?
The first one I will say is the flexibility, as you are also a traveler. For example, uh, in one country you can cross the crosswalk without a hesitation, but in someone you have to look around and you have to understand this is not going to work as in the previous country. That is first. And the second time where the culture and the environment change in a couple of hours, like how long you're gonna need to adjust. So that's like something you should be practicing a very long time to do this again and again. Okay, now I'm going to another country, but I was in the this culture for a couple of months and now I'm going to another one. Like everything will be changed. It's like starting your life over and over again. You are the same, and sometimes the time zone changes, sometimes the climate change, sometimes people change, and like these things in the daily life, they make the life, although the life consists small things, and you just need to, how can I say, adjust yourself based on where you are or how your mood is basically.
Hmm. Being adaptable and being
Yeah,
flexible. It
yeah.
sounds like that was big. Is that something that you had to learn to do, or did that come naturally for you?
Actually, I would say, if it was not too hubris, I had it naturally, but I never had the experience to practice it. Like I never have chance to see it in action. And I'm super happy. Like, sometimes when you are waiting in the passport lines where everybody is nervous because they're gonna catch their flight, and you have to keep your cool. Like you say, guys, like they will make it work. Don't worry, or like not to put fire in the gasoline. Like try to calm people, or when you are in a different environment where you don't know, and you might feel like, oh, are those people friendly, are those people like how they're gonna approach me, and they just how can I say, they just become friendly just with a little smile or little hi in their language, which is super nice.
Hmm. Hmm. Amazing. For somebody who might be thinking about living this nomadic life, you've talked about being flexible and being adaptable, and it sounds like you're generally somebody who is optimistic. It sounds like you assume things are going to go well, and if it's a stressful environment, you just kind of assume the best and focus on what you can control, which I think is so important for this ever-changing environment that the nomadic life has. What about somebody who feels intimidated because maybe that doesn't come naturally for them? What's some advice we can give to that person to help them get started or help them overcome some of these fears?
I would say maybe start with the like close like neighbor countries where you feel like, okay, in a couple of hours I might go back my home, so it's okay. So
Baby
on the other,
steps.
yes, like baby steps. If they have the possibility, like do not sell everything in your home like I do. Just try to monetize it in the other way. There are like a lot of possibilities exist, and then try yourself. Like as you say, baby steps. Go to one country, go to another one, a bit of far, or go with the group. There are like a lot of organizations that are organizing trips for digital nomads who are like a bit of introvert, or like to find challenging to go another country, live in a different culture, but just it's not something to over exaggerate, I would say, and to consider this is like a holiday, but you're also taking your life to holiday. Like that is the most accurate answer or inspiration, I would say. And also it is like super exciting, and how old expectators say, like if it's going to make you scared, it might be something good.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
was like,
Oh,
sorry, It was like when I was in the base camp of a mountain, which is like super huge, like one of the tallest in the world. It's like super scary because there are like tons of things inside then in the mountain that might possibly kill you, but you are still keen to go for it, right? Like you will never stop. Or like when you are surfing, you go to the big waves. Like normal person can think like, are you crazy? Why would you do this? And you go there because you know you're gonna enjoy the result. So that will be the mentality when you are starting to this life. Of course, the challenges, or how can I say, the drawbacks or bad ones are the part of the life, but also they will give you the chance to learn how to overcome them. And when they are already done once, when you feel them next time, you'll say, oh, this is nothing, I can fix it, or like I can cope up with it.
Hmm. Just by having the experience makes you more confident for the future, but you have to get started. Do you think this lifestyle is for everybody? Or do you think there's certain types of people where it's like, oh, I don't know if this would work for you?
I mean, there is an ancient temple in Greece, and in the entrance says know and know yourself. So if a person know yourself, okay, this is not for me because I am a city person. I would like to live where I am living, and I know that I cannot do this. And there are people like me, like, okay, when I started first, I cannot go back. And there are people in between, like they cannot decide whether I'm gonna stay in where I live, I would say, or I'm gonna start traveling. And for them, they should try both because you cannot know the taste of the food, like whether it's too salty or too spicy, without tasting it. So first, you need to experience the same.
Yeah. What have you learned about yourself through this journey of living without a permanent home, which you describe as true freedom? Like what have you learned about Erhan in this process?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you. Uh, what I can say is, the skills to overcome problems in your life. Like, how can I say? Actually, I mean, after 7 years, there are not much things to say. Like, I would say you should not give up because this is an amazing, and you will never know what's going to happen to you on the road. That is super nice and exciting because you are just stepping into unknown. I mean, the world is already explored, but you explore the world on your own terms. Like the moment when you feel like you're gonna give up, like you're gonna go back, okay, this is not for me, like I cannot do this anymore. Maybe you would like to stay put where you are, like maybe more than a couple of months to stay, and then one day eventually you're gonna feel better and you're gonna keep going, basically. That is like when you have no decision until you get like certain decision and you are sure about it. Like you don't make instant decisions first. Always question yourself a couple of more times and choose your destinations wisely. Maybe that might be the possibility that cause like thinking of going back first. You don't do this.
Yeah, I'm curious about what you've learned about yourself through this journey of putting yourself in these experiences. It sounds like you've learned about your ability to be resilient and to be flexible. And you I think you said you thought you had these skills, but you didn't really know until they were actually tested in the real world, which I thought that was a really powerful and relatable stance. It's one thing to read the books about how to behave and like mental strength, and it's a whole other thing to see how you actually react when the moment calls for it. So I think that's very powerful. What about the world? Like what have you learned about the world and how you see society after living so alternatively for 7 years? Like if you think about how you were thinking before that first trip to Phuket to how you think about the world now, what would be the biggest differences?
Actually, that is super nice question. in the essence, there is no differentiation because every person, like in the every corner of the world, they are in their daily life challenges, and if you understand that, you will find a connection point with them. Okay, for example, you can see, I don't know, bakery person going to his her shop, whatever, opens up like early. This is the challenge in the life, and you have different for yourself. And if you can understand, everybody has different challenges in their life, and they are trying to deal with them. Somebody does deal actually in their terms. You understand, like everybody has this. I don't know, challenges, things to overcome in their life. Like no matter, it can be a free diver in Philippines, or it can be a, I don't know, the taxi driver in Kathmandu or something like this. Everybody is trying to live their life in their terms. So in that sense, I learned to be humble because with a slightly different choice, you could have been one of them, or they could have been one of you. So act everybody equally and be kind to everybody. This is what I learned because, in essence, we are all the same. And try to find for these connections between people wherever you are going.
Hmm. That's
That
really
is
beautiful. Hmm.
that is actually biggest thing I learned. Like everybody has their own challenges in their life. And actually, there is a quote of a Turkish rock climber, also alpinist, which is the first person from Turkey who climbed on Everest. He says, "Not everybody can climb to Everest, but everybody has their own Everests."
Mm, so true. And that's that kind of what unites us, right? Is everybody's everybody's dealing with the challenges that come through life. There's the highs, there's the lows. It's a roller coaster of emotion and experiences, and maybe people's rides and peaks and troughs look different, but everybody is going through that journey. And to have that perspective when you're meeting somebody and being a little bit more patient or a little bit more compassionate, because you don't know if they're having their bad day or their good day, but you know that they're experiencing both just like we do, right?
Yeah, that is correct. I mean, sometimes just listen to them. That is also super effective, like because people are looking for people to open up, and it's way easier when they do it on the stranger because they know they wouldn't be judged.
Hmm. Yeah,
And that's also
absolutely. Yeah. So you mentioned at the beginning when I asked you about going back to a 9 to 5, going back to an office job, and it kind of, I got the sense that you're somebody who stays open. You're like, I don't think so, but I can't say for sure. But I do want to come back to that as we wrap up this. You're 7 years in. Do you ever see yourself, quote unquote, settling down and staying in one place? Or what do you imagine for your future?
I mean, staying in one place, it's inevitable. I cannot live like this forever, but at least before doing this, I have some more like ultimate adventures, like having an overlander starting from Argentina, driving to Prudhoe Bay is like the farthest point in Alaska, and then coming back and going to South Pole, and then like I would like to have a home base somewhere, but I will never stop traveling. Maybe the way of traveling might change. I might have an overlander or a van, but I will be always keep traveling.
Hmm. I
Because
love
also
that.
physically, like when the time passes, you are getting less and less capable. But it's might not be true because I have seen a person in Caucasus Mountains, 80 years old lady were hiking in a multi-day hike where you have to go 1,000 meters up, 1,000 meters down every day. Well, who knows?
Wow.
But eventually,
What?
I would like to have a house, my like a dream house with a lot of trees, lot of cats, and lot of
Mm,
laughters. Like many people, especially I'm famous with the food parties. So
okay.
everybody on the road I met or I haven't met, like basically everybody hungry will be invited.
Nice. So it sounds like there are some aspects of living in one place that are attractive to you, and you're kind of like, for that phase of life, there's still some exciting things that you're going to leave for that, so that if you do ever stop traveling, at least you have all these new things to look forward to. I think that's smart.
Yes, that will be a wise decision after like traveling a lot and having a base.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as we're nearing the end, I want to wrap up with some rapid fire questions. I'm sure you've done this before. It's very simple, two options, this or that, and you have to choose one. Okay.
Okay.
And this will get a sense of a little bit more about how you like to travel, which I think I could probably guess based on our conversation today. But would you choose hostel or Airbnb?
Airbnb.
Beach trip or mountain trek?
Both. Is it
You
possible?
got it. Gun to your head, what do you choose?
I will say beach trip because I'm a beach
Beach trip.
person, essentially.
Mm,
Yes.
mm. Work from a cafe or co-working space like me today?
Co-working space,
Nice. Window seat or aisle seat?
window seat,
Mm. Street food or restaurant?
street food,
Last one. Planned itinerary or go with the flow?
planned itinerary.
Planned itinerary. I think so. With the types of travel that you like to do, I think you really got to plan those out and have a strategy for that. So that makes sense. Erhan, your story has been incredible, not just for all the different places you've been, which you've kind of sprinkled in some peak experiences here and there, but mostly the mindset that you've really cultivated along the way. So I think your journey is proof that living boldly, embracing change, finding joy and simplicity can truly lead to an amazing, rich life. For our listeners, where can they find you online? Where can they follow along your journey to Africa, which I guess is next?
Uh, as a regular person, I'm not sharing much on the social media, but I have my Instagram account where I share like very exciting moments. Like for example, when I was in like super big mountain, or when I saw a very long bridge, which is difficult to pass because it's too high. I share like this on my Instagram. Apart from that, pretty much that's the only place they can find me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll include a link to that in the show notes. I know I'd like to follow along with that journey across Africa. And for those listening, I hope this episode has sparked some inspiration for you to take that first leap or to embrace the adventures of the unknown. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you very
Bye.
much. Or they can ask me. I will be happy to answer them personally.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You heard it here.